I have done so much number theory in the last month and a half compared to how much I was doing before, because I realized that I wanted to take an online course later in the year. And just for my own satisfaction, I wanted to complete Rosen before I took the course. It's sort of overkill because I'm going to take a course and maybe I should wait, but I didn't. And so I've already completed the notebook that I showed last time. It's complete. So the notebook that I showed last time, this notebook, I showed everything up to where I was beginning to work on the exam. And then the exam was chapters 4, 5, and 6. I did find some handouts that I liked. I added them. They bulk up the notebook, but I'm doing it for number theory. So I found, I think by the time I showed it last time, I did show this CRT, Chinese remainder theorem handout. I worked through some of the problems. So I think I showed that. It has a little bit more advanced theory that I want to come back to because it uses some abstract algebra, uses fields and rings. And then I kept going for the test. I just did a lot more. And then I found these great lectures on integer partitions by Herbert Wilf from UPenn, and I included them here. I wrote notes about them, but some of the material, because I want to come back to it, was over my head. Sieve equivalence, all these things in the back. I'm going to come back to it. Very interesting. It's very recent work, which I really like. I like the fact that people are working on these problems today. And so I can go to ArchiveX, to the Llano preprints, and I've been doing a little bit of that. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. So yeah, I took lecture notes on it. I took some lecture notes on it. And then I started on chapter 7. Chapter 7 is complete as far as like the lectures are concerned. So multiplicative functions, very cool stuff. Had a lot of fun with it. Mobius inversion, where you flip the multiplicative functions and go back to something that's in terms of the multiplicative functions. Then I finished the notes for chapter 7. And then I started on the problems for chapter 7. They weren't, and of course I did a summary for the chapter. And the problems were not as long as other chapters, so they were brief problems. And of course I'm going to do a quiz on these problems where I do a bunch of evens. These are all the odd ones until I got to the point where I felt that I had done enough, whatever enough means. And so yeah, chapter 7, as far as doing the first round of problems, is complete. And so is this notebook. Now this notebook will get at the end the quiz at some point. So technically it is not complete. I will add a bunch of even problems as well when I do the quiz and when I do the next test. And the next test, I'm not sure how far it's going to go, but it's definitely going to have chapters 7, 8, and 9, and I think 10. Because 11 is quadratic residues, and that's like a major subject. It's a longer chapter, so that's going to be for the next test. So then I started another notebook because that one got full. And this notebook I've already completed. I did take notes, and I kept the printouts for appendices A and B, binomial coefficients, and then A is just axioms. Took some notes, did a couple of problems, just for the sake of completion, because I am doing this book cover to cover. And then I started on chapter 8. Chapter 8 is cryptography. Had a lot of fun with it. Did not go as deep as I wanted to because I think I want to pick it up on the other side when I take the course, because usually if they do cryptography in that course, it'll be at the very end anyways. And so cryptography is going to get a really nice revisit. But right now I did enough to say, yes, I understand what the enciphering and deciphering congruences look like. And I did a reasonable number of problems to feel like I had learned the basic concepts. I did not go in as deep as I would have gone for chapter 7. But yeah, I did have a lot of fun with ciphers. And I'm particularly proud of the last problem that I attempted. Was it the last problem that I attempted? No, it was this one. This one, right? Yeah, mistakes are part of being human. Yeah, so I figured out that the key was yes. And it took a while. I actually had to figure out, you have to go and look at the frequency of the letters and sort of make guesses of what the first letter is, the second letter is, and eventually I got it. But it took a while. It was not easy. It was not easy. But once I realized that the key was yes, then it became very clear how to decipher. Then I did some of the problems that involve matrices, and I finally taught myself how to invert these matrices. I thought I knew it, but I didn't. And so I had to look it up on YouTube, and I figured it out. YouTube interlude, there it is. So I finished chapter 8 for now. Of course, it's going to get a summary, it's going to get a quiz, and then I launched on primitive roots in chapter 9. Been having a lot of fun with that. Completed the lectures for the chapter. So as you can tell, I'm doing a ton of number theory. This is where all the progress went. Most of the progress went in the last month and a half. So yeah. Finished chapter 7, finished chapter 8, almost finished with chapter 9. I'm starting to write lectures on chapter 10 tomorrow. And so, of course, a lot of fun. I like it. I love it when I see one of these very complicated congruences, because I'm like, I want to know how to do this, and I do it. And so, for example, in here, in this case, there is a theorem that tells you whether it's a primitive root or not, and you're shifting by the number plus, what was it? You're shifting it by the primitive root plus the mod 487. So you start with 10, add 487, and try 497, and 497 works. But the theorem just tells you that it works. Actually, when you plug it in, you don't get to 1. And so I tried it, and I was like, oh, it's just a theorem that says that you can do that, but it doesn't say that when you put in 497, it's going to give you 1 mod the product. And not only that, I did it twice. I started in one way, because there's all kinds of ways to jump around with the exponentials until you get to the final number. And so on purpose, I jumped around in one way, and then I jumped around in a different way to get to the result, and I got the same result. So I'm like, all right, I get it, fine, I'm moving on. I'm not supposed to get 1, which you're supposed to get when you do Fermat's little theorem. More primitive roots, all the proofs, and then discrete logarithms, the indices. So I checked out that I was learning the concept by going back to the order for mod 7. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun and a lot of work, which is great. I am making a lot of progress. So this is all the lecture notes for chapter 9. It's more primality tests. I really like Rosen and how modern it is. He's really putting in a lot of number theory that is fairly recent, and I like that. Then I took myself down and I figured out primitive roots just by doing a whole bunch of them, all the way to mod. I did all the way to mod 14. And I just kept it as a sort of like an addendum for myself, something that I could reference. Similar to what I did when I did primes to 500, all the factorizations. And then I've started on chapter 9 problems, and I'm pretty far in. for chapter 9 problems. They're not as bulky as other chapters, and it's fine. That's fine. So I'm already in section 9.3. Yeah, I'm in section 9.3. I've begun doing problems for section 9.3 for chapter 9. So that's a lot of progress for number theory, and it feels great. My plan is to do chapter 9 and 10 in May, at least for the lectures, and of course I've made tons of progress with chapter 9. So chapter 10, I just do the lectures next week, and I'll start on problems for chapter 10 maybe the week after, in the beginning of June. And then all of June is going to be chapter 11 for quadratic residues, which is a very big chapter, very important concept. I already started watching some YouTube videos on it, the quadratic reciprocity, which is a beautiful, beautiful equation. I'm really getting into it, having a lot of fun. And then there's going to be, and then I think by July, I can do chapters 12 and 13. And then August is small because it's Fermat integers. I think they're called Fermat integers, chapter 14, which I already did a little bit of way back when. So I want to wrap up the entire Rosen book cover to cover by mid-August, and I want to start the class, I think in mid-September, something like that, maybe between mid-August and mid-September. I'll see how that is, but I think at the pace that I'm going, I can finish Rosen, and I can make a little progress on calculus and very little progress on proofs and linear algebra. But 2022 is my year of number theory anyways, and so I'm going whole hog on this particular subject, having a lot of fun, learning a lot.